if you're out there this early, you're welcome to check in now.
Good morning, Chuck. K0DWC, this is W6SSP.
Well, Steve, good morning. Got a good signal in Dayton Valley this morning. How you doing over there this morning?
Oh, pretty good. Yeah, you've got a strong signal here, too. Good conditions so far. Yeah, the days are getting shorter. Maybe conditions will improve pretty soon. So what are you on today?
Well, I'm on our standard net control rig ART13, and the only thing I've changed is I've changed the mic. I'm on a Q32 military microphone. It's a stand-up mic, like a desk mic, with an electret type of cartridge in it.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. You know, it sounds like a lot of electrodes that I've heard and used where it's a little, favors the low end a little bit, but perfectly copyable. Anyway, we'll see. Maybe other people are waiting to check in. K0DWC, W6SSP.
Okay, Steve. Yeah, stand by. You're in the #1 spot this morning, so good deal there. Get you a cup of coffee or whatever. You're all checked in, and I'll see if I can get some more guys to check in here. So if there's a #2 out there for this is the military radio net, and you'd like to check in now, go ahead.
W87YBS.
Good morning, bud. I thought I heard a dynamotor in the background. Am I hearing things, or are you running the golden dyno?
I'm on the ATD, Alpha Tango Delta, mighty 40 watts carbon microphone. So, yeah, that's the, I'm sitting out a little ways from the footwell of the desk, so you can really hear the dynamotor pretty good. K0DWC WA7 YDS.
That's fantastic, Henry. I mean, for what you're running, and the microphone you got, and your power source and everything, you sound fantastic to me. I mean, you sound like you're out in the field. The only thing I don't hear is machine gun fire behind you. Oh, great job, Henry. That's great, man. I'm glad you got that on the air. It's a treat to hear that, too. So, really, really good. I got you in the 2 spot, Henry. Let's see. Is there a #3 out there that would like to check in to the Vintage Military Radio Net? 3 is open. If you'd like to check in, come now. Well, nothing heard. But anyway, Henry at 40 watts on the LCD is working really, really good, and you sound really cool. And Steve's got a big signal in here this morning, and like he was saying, you know, it's conditions are only going to get better. So hopefully we'll have a successful net today with no appreciable problems. So we'll see, I guess. But I saw the video that John put out there, and I saw Henry Sharon sitting there over at Cabela's. He didn't show Mike there. I don't know if Mike was, I'm taking for granted Mike was there, but we didn't see him in the video. Carl and I looked at it, but the only ones we saw that we knew were you, Henry, and Sharon. So looked like there was a lot of new stuff, or newer type stuff. I'll just put it to you that way. And the only old stuff I saw was some of the stuff Henry had on the table there. We watched the whole video. Looked like it was pretty well attended, and a good day for it. So I was going to call you yesterday, doggone it, and I had to run to the store a couple of times, and by the time I got done, it was time to eat. I'm like, I'm not going to bother him and just wait the day. So I thought, well, I'll just wait until the net starts and get the gist from everybody that attended. Let me check, see if there's a number 3 up there that wants to check in. If not, Henry, you go ahead and take it and then just pass it to Steve. I'd like to check in to number 3, the Vince Marte Radio knows to come now. Okay, nothing heard. So, Henry, I'll send it to you, then you can send it over to Steve real quick, and then you can send it back to me, and I'll do some more check-ins. W87YBS, K0DWC.
Okay. K0DWC, WA7YBS. And I forgot to turn the scope on. I'll do that next. And, well, good morning to Steve. I haven't heard you transmit yet, but we'll look forward to that. And, of course, Chuck is very strong in here. I changed receivers that I was using with the ATD. I had set up that RAF receiver, the R1155, but that receiver, it's an okay receiver, but, it's got 10 tubes, and you think, wow, 10-tube receiver, but actually only 6 tubes in the receiver are used for receive. The other 4 tubes are for direction finding applications. And so one of the one I was using was all stock, and but it's very common for the Brits, if they were just going to use it as a radio receiver, they pulled out those 4 tubes, just left the sockets blank, and ran it as a 6-tube receiver, which you can do. So it really ends up that the receiver only has 2 controls, tuning and volume. That's about it. You can switch the BFO on and off, and that's about it. Change bands, things like that. But, as far as adjustments, it really is lacking in any sort of adjustments and no selectivity. So I'm back using the RBG2, the Navy version of the Hammerland HQ120, and so that's a much better receiver, for what we're doing. And as mentioned, this is the ATD transmitter, 40 watts, Shure 102C carbon microphone, and then the collinear array for the antenna. And interesting bit of news, I now have the original remote control for the ATD, and I'm going to be making up the cable to run the remote, and also I got all the connectors for everything going to the ATD now, including the remote indicator. So pretty soon we'll be running the ATD through the remote, which is how it was set up in the airplane. Pilot operated the transmitter through his pilot's remote, which is what I have. So anyway, over to Steve, W6SSP, WA7YBS.
Okay, thank you, Henry. And boy, I'll tell you, you were booming in here with 40 watts. The ATD sounds very good, very, very, very carbony, as you would expect. So couldn't hear the dynamotor, but I'm not as close as Chuck is either. Anyway, very good. Looking forward to Lincoln in 6 days. It's the only big hamfest I get to go to every year, so planning on going a little nuts there, if possible. And would like to hear a report from Cabela's, what kind of equipment showed up and anything special. So we'll send it back up to Chuck, K0DWC, W6SSP.
Okay, Steve, W6SSP with WA7YBS. This is K0DWC. Well, some of the guys should be waking up by now. I wonder if Vern is going to be here this morning. testing his antennas. I'm kind of interested to see what kind of audio he's going to have and power with that new setup he's got. But this is the Vintage Military Radio Net, and I'm taking early check-ins for the Vintage Military Radio Net. And number 3 is open. If anybody'd like to wake up and check in, you're welcome to come now.
W7MKA.
Well, good morning, Robert. Boy, you got a good signal in here from Grants Pass this morning in the Dayton Valley, Robert. You're nice, clear, and crisp. You must be running that big old BC610, that beautiful big transmitter. Go ahead and make a transmission, Robert, and I got you in the 3 spot. Go ahead and make a transmission and send it back to me, K0DWC.
All right, K0DWC and the group W7MKA. No, it's not the 610. I'm just on the BC669. But we are cheating, running into an SB200. So it's looks like about 100 watts of carrier. That's all we're at. But yeah, we heard Henry just fine on the 18C with its 40 watts, and that's all I get out of mine too. Henry, I wonder if you've ever tried yours on 630 meters. I've got I think there was a tuning unit for that that would cover that band, although I don't have one. I got the broadcast band one. It's almost perfect, 540 to 1500 kc. I know Dave Spence and maybe others have patted that down to use on 630. So let's give another try. But actually had a fairly eventful week radio-wise. Maybe we'll save for a later round, but see if anybody else is out there. Back up to you, K0DWC to take it, W7MKA.
Okay, Robert, W7MKA. In the group, I got you in the 3 spot, sir. Well, I guess we'll just I'll go ahead and start the net now, and I'll pick up anybody there at the end of the first round, if anybody's there to check in. Well, good morning, and this is the Vintage Military Radio Net. I'm K0DWC, Chuck, and I'll be your net controller this morning, and we'll be on 3.974 megacycles. Vintage Military Radio Net is a roundtable AM net that provides an opportunity for licensed hands to operate their vintage military radio gear on the air. Military gear is encouraged. It's certainly not a requirement. And check-ins will be given a number that can be used in the handoff. And I'll call for check-ins at the end of each roundtable session. Anyone has anything for sale or a want, please mention it during your turn in the roundtable session. So, the list as I have it right now is in the number 1 spot is Steve, W6SSP. In the 2 spot is Henry, WA7YBS. In the 3 spot is Robert, W7MKA. Is there a number 4 before we go to the top and start the net? Come now. Well, good morning, Bill. Good to hear you this morning. You got a strong signal in here this morning. 2-5 copy. I've got you in the 4 spot, Bill. M6 Bravo Charlie Tango in the number 4 spot. Is there a number 5 spot out there that, or anybody want to check in 4 or 5 spot for the Vintage Military Radio Net? Come now. Okay, I didn't hear anything, so we'll check out again. We'll check them out here again at the end of the first round. Okay, well, Bill, you're number 4, so when you're done, you'll hand it back up to me, K0DWC. So anyway, good morning again, and on the AFC-15 this morning, and we're listening on the R45 ARR7 receiver with an LS3 speaker. And backup is an R388 on a loop antenna that I've got for a backup just in case. And we're running approximately 200 watts of carrier power, and through an inverted V antenna, and speaking on a T32 military microphone with an electret insert in it. So that's the rundown here. So with that, we'll start round one and we'll go to the top, W6 SSP to take it. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. K0BWC, W6 SSP. Good morning, everybody. Everybody sounds really good. Good condition so far. And let's see, what's going on here? Oh, well, the equipment. I'm using a Collins 32V1 transmitter, about 85 watts out into a dipole 30 feet up, an amplified D104 microphone. Receiver's the matching 75A1 receiver. And I've been using these now for a number of years. They're bolted to the table, so to speak. That's just the way it's going to be for a while, I guess. Let's see, radio-wise, it's been having a lot of fun the last few weeks. I've been working on 4 R390As that I picked up a number of years ago, and all seem to be in really nice condition, almost new condition, if not new. 3 of them were EACs, late production. The last one I worked on, which I finished about a week and a half ago, was a Imperial. And I'll tell you, this Imperial was a mess, mechanically. I've worked on a lot of these over the years. I've never seen one quite like this. Everything on this radio was over-torqued. I mean, to the extreme. The screws that hold the modules into the onto the chassis were almost impossible to get loose. We had to use a torque wrench on, impact rifle on a couple of them. And when I went to take the side panel off, the screws are so tight, two or maybe 3 of the heads actually twisted off. And worst of all were the clamps in the gearbox. No less than 5 of them were broken and cracked right at the neck where the tabs come off. And on that subject, Henry, you may or may not know this, but there's a fairly big difference between clamps used in the R390 and the 390A. If a clamp breaks in the 390, it's usually in the middle. But all the clamps that are broken in these 390As have been right near the tabs where there's the least amount of metal. So anyway, I got it working. The Imperial's working 100%, just like the others are. But I had to steal some of those clamps from other radios to get it going. So that's what I'll be looking for at Lincoln, is a junker RF deck with a bunch of clamps and a power supply. So I'll send it down to Henry, WA7YBS, W6 SSP.
Okay, Steve. W6 SSP, WA7YBS, and looking at the scope, looks pretty good. I didn't have it on the first couple of transmissions, but now I do. Very good on the R390A. Yeah, I read your emails and stuff, so yeah, very good information on that. I've run into that Z503 problem, and that is I know you mentioned that in the email. I think you mentioned it a week or so ago. The coupler there, I guess a plate coupler, I guess you'd call it, for the AGC on the IF deck, and that's a hard. It's physically hard to get that out because there's so many wires that are on the same little standoff there, and so you have to be real careful not to break all of that stuff. And of course, I had spare parts, and so I just dug around till I found a good Z503 on a junk IF deck, And interestingly, the Z503, some of them have a ferrite shield over the coil inside, and some of them don't. I guess it all depends on who is the contractor that built the IF deck. But at any rate, there doesn't seem to really be too much difference because it's a very simple deal on that. And so anyway, that's one deal. And then the broken clamps, yeah, I've noticed that they do tend to break right there, you know, at that, I guess where the metal is the thinnest, and you know, where you really put a lot of torque on them, which isn't really necessary, but you know, it happens. What can you say? You just have to give these guys smaller tools to work with, or something. And but anyway, it's fun to work on complex receivers that are easy to kind of take apart, you know, and logically designed. So it is fun. It's when they're illogically designed and difficult to take apart that it becomes tough. And so on the 630 meter module, the LF module for the ATD, I don't have one. I've never even seen one. And you have to have that antenna tuner that goes with it. And which I assume you do, because the wire connects to the front panel on the antenna wire. Yeah, it goes to the front panel on the LF module for the ATD. So it's kind of an oddball thing. And I don't have the 160 meter module either. And I have, mine is equipped now with four 3,000 to 9,500 kc modules. So I can do 80 and 40 meters in 4 channels. You know, I can set up, you know, for any of 4 frequencies in either 80 meters or 40 meters or both. And so anyway, I find that it was a lot more handier. When I got this ATD, it had 2 of the broadcast band modules, which are, you know, kind of useless. So I replaced those with some of the 80 and 40 meter modules that I found over the time that I've had this transmitter. So anyway, that's the rundown on the ATD, 40 watts, and I can get a little more. You know, I can probably get about 50 watts output on this, but of course the modulation suffers if you do. So anyway, 40 watts is cool, and you know, you just can't do it in the dead of summer. So over to Bob at W7MKAWA7YBS.
Yeah, well, the 40 watts is doing a good job. I considered getting my ATV on this morning, but it was a lot easier to just fire up the transceiver. It's been okay on the different modules. I've got 2 of the 3 through the 9050, then the 160 module, and then the Fib 1 broadcast. This one, I got this from KB6B 10, I think it used to be check-in quite a few years ago now. But, and I told it for, I think, $8. And, for, you know, it was just, saw it at the ham fest, and we were trying to think of a number that where you wouldn't insult the guy, and the guy says, okay, but you got to take the dynamometer and the cables too. And so it's pretty much the new old stock, and you know, including the original cable, which must be 50 feet long. So I don't know how those were set up in the plane, but so I can put the dynamotors actually in the next room. I can't even hear it when it's running. And I managed to find the loading coil, the LF loading coil. It showed up as the Rick Rial swap meet a couple months ago. I've never actually used it on 630 meters. CW for me has always been something that requires so much brain power that it's just not very enjoyable. I'm sure the answer to that is more practice, but it doesn't sound very fun either. Well, speaking of the complex receivers, I wonder how many got I enjoyed the most recent electric radio, although it's kind of sad that it seems like it seems like it's getting slimmer and slimmer every issue. And print on the classified seems like it's getting bigger and bigger, but it's just my perception, but that RCA set looks like a little honey. It kind of it amazed me reading between the lines. It sounds like the last guy that had it traded a fairly new car for the radio and took it home and stashed it, out on his property, in a minivan or something that was abandoned. And I've had a experience with an estate with a guy that was just like that. Paid good money for stuff, but the man actually took it home and stacked it up outside, threw a truck over it. So, of course, they were very careful not to say who it was that the estate that he got that from, but probably one of a kind. They look like a pretty amazing set. Back down to Bill, N6BCT to take it, W7MKA.
Okay, Bill. You still got a strong signal in here this morning. That's good. That's always a good thing. All righty. Well, let's see if there's a number 5 out there that wants to check in on the tail end of the first round here. If you'd like to check in, British Military Radio Net, that'd be number 5. You can come now. Number 5 open for the Vintage Military Radio Net. If you'd like to check in, you can come now. I thought I heard somebody, but I'm not sure. Did anybody hear anything? Well, I guess not. Okay. Well, we can go ahead and go back up to the top. Not a whole lot going on here. It's a little bit muddy in a lot of spots from that heavy rain we got the other day, but takes all I can do just to walk in that stuff and not get stuck or fall in it. So, anyway, that's what's going on here. Well, we'll go up to the top again, go over to Santa Rosa, to Mr. Steve, W6SSP, to take it, SK0, DWC. Good, Steve.
Okay, Chuck, very good. Hey, you could have given us a report on the 51 Ford. Anyway, maybe we'll talk about that in the next pass. Let's see. Oh, Henry, other things other problems I encountered with these 4 R390As. Something I've never seen before. And the PEMs that are used, the captive nuts that are used on the front panel, to hold the front panel to the chassis. 3 of the 8 were loose, and 1 actually fell out. I think whoever built that thing, this applies to all these. I think whoever built these things were having really bad days, or these were all at the very end of production, and they just cobbled together these units out of parts that they had laying around. Interestingly, though, there were no electrical problems other than the Open Z 503. There were no electrical problems with any of them, only mechanical problems. Let's see, other projects here. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I finally built a bracket for a tri-band beam I got, 5-element 10, 15, 20-meter beam. It's only going to be up about 20 feet, and the bracket is going to be hung off of the rafters on the back of the house here. No rotor, or I should say Armstrong rotor. But I've never had a HF beam up, so kind of looking forward to seeing how well that works. It'll probably be better than the fan dipole I use on the other bands. Hopefully get that up maybe this week. May not be all the way up, but at least partially assembled. And we'll see if neighbors complain about it. They probably will, but 20 feet up, I don't think they can do anything about it. So that's about it for me. I can't really think of anything else going on. Like I say, just looking forward to Lincoln and fantasizing about what neat stuff will show up there. So over to Henry again, WA7YBS, W6SSP.
Okay, Steve. W6SSP, WA7YBS. Okay, very good on all. Bill was coming in very good, and Robert, good signal there. Yeah, that RCA that was in that was in Pennsylvania. That was like on, I don't know if it was 11 acres. I think it was 11 acres. There was something like 26 vans, or RVs and vans and school buses, and it was just loaded with a bunch of gear. And according to W3TA, Tom, who sent me an email about it, about the RCA, most of the stuff was junk. And the pictures that he sent me, you could see anything that was wood in there was just destroyed. And, about the only thing that was, if the rust didn't get it, if it was wood, it was warped, or the veneer fell off. So, I think he told me that there was out of a lot of stuff, there was only a handful of items that were really salvageable. So it was lucky that RCS, kind of like a combination of an AR-88 and an R390. It's an interesting receiver. And so I don't know what the electric radio write-up is, but, this is from what Tom sent me as an email on that. It was an interesting receiver. And, I got the story about the guy trading a car for it. And so anyway, that's cool. And, a high-frequency beam antenna Yagi. Old buddy there, my W7IND, who's an SK now, he used to run a classic 33 Mosley on top of a wooden stepladder. He strapped it to the top of the stepladder and ran coax to it, and that's what he used. So, they're pretty forgiving. And, of course, you get gain. Of course, the pattern's a little bit weird, but that's okay. And let's see, Cabela's. I better give a report on Cabela's. 22 sellers, and believe it or not, out of the 22 sellers, there wasn't not one vintage boat anchor piece of equipment, not a transmitter, not a receiver, nothing. And so it was quite different. It was all new gear, and it was all quite a bit of test gear and lots of parts. So for parts, it was good. For vintage boat anchors, it was terrible. And so, if you were in the market for a fairly new rig, well, there was a lot of that there. A lot of handhelds, a whole lot of handhelds. So anyway, it was a little bit different. And Mike was there, W7MS. And so it's, you can't see him on the video, but I think somewhere along the line you can hear him in the background talking to somebody. So anyway, Mike was there, and a lot of the usual guys from Nevada. Anyway, that were Brad at the M7 RCA was there, and so anyway, it was it was an okay meet. I did real well on selling. I sold half of what I brought, which is good, and so that's a report on Cabela's. It was just for vintage ham gear. It was a bust. There was nothing. So anyway, we'll send it over to Robert, W7MKA, WA7YBS.
Yeah, what a weird ham set with no boat anchor gear. In a lot of cars, that's about all that you've seen. Even our local club one. But sure, it'd still be fun to see everybody. But Okay, on the inside information on the RCA radio, yeah, it sounds a lot like the state I was thinking of, which was up in Bothell, Washington. So maybe the similar environmental conditions, just really damp and wet. Like there, I remember there was a Connex, shipping container that was full of old magazines, like one from the 30s. Even some of the rarer stuff, shortwave news and radio and stuff like that, and they were all growing white mold and, air coming off these old magazines. And, to kind of look and see what else might be in there, because I could see there was a broadcast mixing console and the remains of a BC-610. And so it kind of held my nose and ran in, so I wouldn't touch my desk. But besides those 50s, there wasn't a whole lot. But there's a whole lot of that all over the property. Some pretty expensive and nice radios that I paid good money for, and then just stacked up and threw tarp over them. But even from the shack, the shack was unheated, and a few things I drug home that required quite a bit of TLC to get it going again. Well, I was going to tell about my radio adventures from this last week. I really wanted to take the ATC, the ART-13, up to the other location, where I stayed during the week. The Winston Power Company were out with 6, so there's only a little house that they did at the street. They gave all the stay got a shack set up there. I wanted to take the ATC up there, but didn't really have an extra 24-volt power supply. All I had was a BP4763, which probably everyone has experience with, the great big green cube. I think I've seen them sell at the Hamfest for $10. Because first it seems like they're just not that useful because they're so limited at 50 amps. I was determined that I was going to figure this out. So I was finally looking at the schematic and finally figured out that it was just the circuit breaker they were using as a switch was the only thing that was limiting the input current. It's not a normal circuit breaker. It kind of has a shunt winding in it. So it must be almost an instantaneous turn-off rather than kind of over the I just jumping that out. They were fine, so we're going to put a fuse block in to get some primary protection or something like that. But that power supply became a whole lot more useful. Works just fine for starting dynamometers to take that instantaneous trip circuit breaker out of the equation. Back down to Bill. N6 BC2 to Texas W7M2 home.
Bill, N6 BCT, it's your turn. Go ahead. Okay, bro. All right. Well, you're still sounding pretty good this morning, so that's a good deal. That means that conditions are getting better for us as we get further into the fall, or toward fall, I should say. But let's see if there's a number 5 out there that would like to check in to Vince Military Radio Net before we go to the 7-3 round. If you'd like to be number 5, Vince Military Radio Net, you can come now. Okay, nothing heard. So, just a couple of comments. Yeah, Steve, 51 Ford. Yeah, you know what? I did manage to get the heater control valve reinstalled in the car. I got it back from Shoebox Central in Oklahoma City a week or so ago, and they did a beautiful job rebuilding that heater control valve. Those things are a real hassle if you're not equipped to rebuild them. And you know, I've only had to mess with those a few times in my lifetime. You know, if it was bad, I'd just go buy another one. But it's not that easy with an antique vehicle, and nobody's making them. And Shoebox Central is offering to rebuild the 49 to 51 shoebox heater control valves for $130, and you just send it to them, and they rebuild it. They call you, they let you know how much it is, you pay them, and they send it back to you, and they did a fantastic job on it. That thing looks better than brand new. So I was real happy with that. Either today or tomorrow I might go ahead and get ready to install the heater core itself. That's the only thing I got left to do there under the dash, and we'll go from there, I guess. That way I can set up the heater hoses correctly, the way they're supposed to be installed. Because right now, with all that stuff out of there, I've got to reroute the motor out of the top of the block to the bottom of the block, you know, with the hose, so I can keep it going, you know, so I can run it if I have to. But I don't know, we'll get that straightened out. But Henry, I got a question. When I was looking at the video, I noticed you had that Cathedral radio. I was just curious if you sold that or not, because that looked like a really nice unit. I've seen that one before, I believe. But that Cathedral really looked nice. I'm just curious if you sold that or not. But maybe you can enlighten me here in just a minute. So, okay, well, let's go ahead and start the 7-3 round, and we'll go up to the top to Steve. And Steve, that Imperial R398, yeah, I knew that they made those, but I never really knew a lot about the company and about how many they may have made Imperials like that. I was just curious if maybe you had any numbers on that. But anyway, I'll send it up to you. This is the 7-3 round, guys. So W6SSP, K0DWC.
Okay, Chuck, K0DWC, W6SSP. Very good on 51 Ford update. It's amazing, you know, how services are available but never limited for rebuild parts like that. That's pretty cool. I was talking to Jason back in Georgia this past week, and he's got a 71 Dodge pickup that he really likes, and he's putting a lot of money into that. And so his latest project is converting the front drum brakes to discs, which was never available on that model. But somebody went to the trouble to engineer it, machine all the parts, and offer a kit. It wasn't cheap, but he said that's what he's doing. He's going to keep that truck forever, so might as well put money into it. Pretty cool. You know, it's so the market for that has to be so darn narrow that people are doing it, which is really cool. Henry, thank you very much for the Cabela's update. Very disappointing that no boat anchor showed up. I hope that's not what's going to happen at Lincoln, because I'm looking at the boat anchors. I think one of the things I've decided I'm going to look for is another 32V transmitter, any one of them, one kind of tree, to set up a second AM station and pair it up with a 51J4. I've got it in the rack. So we'll see what happens. But you know, you mentioned test equipment, and that's been a very dominant thing the last few years at Lincoln and other swap meets I've gone to. There's a lot of test equipment and good stuff too. Last year I picked up 4 very nice 22 gigahertz Tektronix spectrum analyzers for peanuts. I had to fix them, but that's okay. That's part of the fun. So we'll see what shows up at Lincoln next time. And Henry, I wanted to mention also that Z503 substitution that I wrote you about. I compared that to the other 3 R390As that I just did. The AGC action, and it was absolutely identical. So if you're ever in the position where you come across an R390A or 390 with that coil open, try that substitution that I mentioned and see how well it works. It was just kind of an off-again thing that I tried. It worked amazingly well. And let's see what else. Oh, I can't think of anything else. Good news. I'm hopeful that the beam up 20 feet has some effect. It ought to be better than the dipole I've got up, so we'll see. I've asked people about that over the years, and some say, oh no, it needs to be up on a 100-foot tower, and others say, just like you did, Henry, yeah, a step ladder, stick it on top of a step ladder, and it'll work just fine. I'll let you know how it works. Anyway, over to Henry. We'll see 73 guys, and next week I'll give you a report on Lincoln. WA7YBS, W6SSP, 73 all.
Okay, Steve, W6SSP, WA7YBS. Yeah, I don't know how many years IND had that classic 33 Mosley on top of that wooden step ladder, and I think it was only an 8-foot step ladder. I doubt it was a 10-foot, but it was a wooden step tower. That's how he got away with it. And he had it out this back part of his property, so it was kind of funny, you know. But his place kind of looked like a scrapyard anyway out in back, but that was kind of an interesting thing about Bob. And let's see, Chuck on Imperial of Emelco and Teledyne. Teledyne is the company. Teledyne helped financially get Emelco started, and then once Emelco got going as a company, Teledyne bought them, and so that's how Emelco, the Teledyne Emelco relationship happened, and then Imperial, it was kind of the same thing. But anyway, Emelco and Imperial were both companies that were owned by Teledyne. So that's the connection there between the 3 different types of R390s that are really kind of essentially the same company. And let's see, what else? Robert, that sounds like a different deal than what was, because Tom, what he indicated in his emails anyway, was that that estate was in Pennsylvania, in kind of central South Pennsylvania, as I remember. I'd have to go back and look at the emails to see for sure what he said. And but Tom is in Pennsylvania, so maybe it was in Virginia or someplace around there. But at any rate, it sounds like the same thing. It was 11 acres or somewhere around that, a large property with lots of storage of various types. There was vans, RVs, storage containers, buses, and the interesting thing was that buses were ex-police buses. And some of the vans were ex-police buses, so it was kind of weird. But otherwise, it sounds pretty much like the same deal. But at any rate, one more the deal on Cabela's there? Yeah, I can't explain it. I don't know what to say. I did not sell that Philco 60 Cathedral. There was not too many people even looked at it. It was the little tiny AC/DC radios and the small mantle sets that were like $20. Yeah, those disappeared pretty quick. But, I didn't want that much for the Cathedral, $70. But, hey, what can I say? There was no interest in it at all. And that's just the way it goes sometimes. So, at any rate, we did sell half of what we took, and that was good. So, at any rate, we'll say 73 all around. Everybody have a good week. I think I'll be net control next week. So, we'll see what happens then. So 73, and over to Robert, W7MKA, WA7YBS.
All right, WA7YBS in the group, W7MKA. It's funny, it seems like the ham crowd and the antique radio crowd don't mix sometimes. There's not a whole lot of crossover. I've seen that happen before, where it's Rick Real or something where antique radio even looks at them, and you go to it up north. There's a few antique radio clubs, one in kind of the Portland area, and then one in Washington. And you go to their meets, you even pick up vintage ham gear type stuff for nothing. I think I got a DX20 that looked like it was brand new for $5 or $10 or something like that. And nobody else had even looked at it. Chehalis there, I think, to their new map. So we can get the fairgrounds, and at the previous weekend, thought, why don't we combine these together and get a bigger crowd? This is like that we better for everybody. Everybody coming in around. Anyway, that's the story. I had a friend who was he got hustled with a scooter, and one of the things happened is couldn't get the Wi-Fi hooked up because we have a satellite connected to Wi-Fi, anyway, so it makes things for the network and also take all the everything as well. Even though it's turned off, it looks nice. Start up the story here. Back over to the WC and start again for everybody.
Okay, Bill. Well, you still got a strong signal in there today, and you did really well, and that's always a good thing. So, I just have just a couple of quick comments. You know, Henry, we were looking at the video of John's video, Yeah, I really didn't see anything that had an analog meter in it. You know, I mean, I told Carla was looking at it. She says, "Where's all the old stuff?" And I'm like, "I don't think there is any old stuff." And then that's just after that, John had gone by your place there, Henry, and I saw the cathedral sitting there, and I told Carla, I said, "That's probably the oldest thing there, because everything else is, like you said earlier, in the net. You know, it's either new, you know, they're mainly handhelds and, you know, stuff like that, you know, and I don't know. For me personally, I like seeing boat anchors, but anyway, yeah, it's too bad that happened. We need to get some more boat anchors into those swamp meets and stuff. So anyway, oh, Henry, thanks for the clarification on the Imperial. You know, I knew about Teledyne, you know, absorbing a couple of those businesses, you know, Melco and all that, but I didn't know that Imperial was one of them, and that's interesting because, well, as you know, my R390A, that's a Teledyne R390A with a 1962 tag on it. So, and it's a great receiver. I love it. I don't run it very much, but just because I got the same problem you do, Henry. It's just far enough away from the deck that I got to stretch, and if I stretch, I might pull something, and I don't know. It ain't worth that. So anyway, but yeah, very good on all, and thank you guys for being there. Henry, I'm going to give you a buzz definitely this afternoon. This is supposed to be a nice day today. I might get a little bit of stuff done here shortly and then come in for the day. But anyway, guys, thanks again for being there. We appreciate the support. And as Henry said, he'll be net control next week. And we will talk to you guys soon. So have a good day today, a good week ahead, and take care, and we'll talk to you later. So with that, this is K0DWC, and I'll be closing the Bennington Military Radio Net for today. And again, I'd like to thank everybody for their cooperation and their participation. And by the way, Robert, that BC669 sounded great as well. So congratulations on that, and we'll talk to you later. This is K0DWC, 773s, and signing off. Take care.